Hey, welcome back to another review video. Today I'll be looking at Mayday Parade's 7th album, What It Means to Fall Apart. Now first of all, sadly I've only ordered the vinyl record, which doesn't get pressed and released until late March 2022, so I won't be able to review the record in its physicality, but I can still talk about the album and the artwork. Now first of all, the artwork. On the cover they bring back the classic Umbrella Man who first appeared on their debut album Less Than Romantics, which I'm personally glad to see him make a return. He's always been this kind of mascot who's appeared in some shape or form throughout most of their releases, so it's good to see him take centre stage in quite a cool way. The artwork direction here is definitely different to the previous album. It's much more leaning towards this graphic design based look as opposed to the photography based one from Sunnyland. I like how this one kind of has this dark tone to it and this really cool effect where they've done this kind of smoky swirling paint effect in which it blends in with the silhouette of the Umbrella Man and how it kind of combines in with the rain, which I really like. He also appears to be deteriorating away from the image, which I think is a good way to reference the album title. But speaking of the album title, the way they designed that and the band's name as a sticker kind of label stuck on to the cover I think was a little bit out of place. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I know it's kind of cool, you know, it's a bit of graphic design, it's a bit of a, you know, niche thing to do, but I think it kind of takes away from how good the artwork is of that silhouette. I think that should have been celebrated in some sense, and if it were me, either I would have done it in the way they promoted it in the image they released on the release day, or maybe have the album title and band name somehow blending in with the paint and the smoky effects. That would have been really cool. That would have been really mysterious and just reinforced the overall themes of the album. Now the version of the colorway that I ordered was the Banker Records exclusive, and on this one it's on a clear piece of vinyl with a kind of black smoky swirl in the center as well as blue and magenta splatter, which I'm actually really looking forward to getting because it does look like it represents the album cover really well in terms of its colors, and it kind of, you know, they all look pretty good, but this one specifically I think is quite unique and is also limited to 300 pressings. And now onto the track list itself. The first song, Kids of Summer, this was the first single released way before the announcement of the album, and in classic Mayday fashion they kick off the album in a very upbeat, positive vibe, probably one of the most cheerful songs in the discography even, and it definitely is a song that reminds me and takes me back to the earlier 2000s pop punk era of music. The second song, Golden Days, is actually the fourth single released for the album. It's a song that creates a lot of imagery of nostalgia, a sense of hope, a sense of longing, as well as being one with really good lyricisms in it in its songwriting, such as the line, "I'll continue hopelessly looking for that spark because I've gone pretty to the dark," in which I think really does a good job in summarizing the whole song, as well as being a track that really reflects the struggles we've all been through for the past year throughout the pandemic in a way that's really beautifully written and composed and arranged in a way that's, you know, not forced, and is also really relatable and catchy at the same time, so it's a great song. Think of You is a very sweet and endearing acoustic song with a very cheerful tone to it, especially with the use of the whistling throughout the track, which almost comes across as if it's giving this kind of like campfire song vibe to it in a way, but generally it's a very lovely way for the band to remind us that we'll never forget the ones who matter to us. The fourth song, If My Ghost Don't Play, I Don't Play, is one that kind of has this really dark tone to it in the beginning, bringing elements that feel like it's from the grungy alternative rock sort of sounding stuff from Black Lines and the heavier stuff from Sunnyland into a track that kind of brings a sense of solidarity and energy like the song One of Us. It makes really good use of the melodic lead guitars and the bridge, which they're really good at doing throughout many of their tracks, and it has a really satisfying ending to it, which almost feels like it could have easily been the last song of the album. Sideways is a song that starts off with a melody that's very distinctly in Mayday's kind of unique emo pop punk style. I've noticed how Derek sings a lot more in this kind of higher, sort of softer vocal range throughout this record, which I do enjoy. It's also a song that's very driven forward by its drums, and it's one that kind of reminds me a lot of Yumi at 6. One for the Rocks and One for the Scary is probably one of my favourite songs off this record. It was the third song released for the album, and it's one that, you know, starts off very beautifully with just Derek's vocals as an acoustic guitar, and this one just generally resonates with me really well because I think particularly because of the things I was going through and the changes I was going through during its release, I think that just made me sort of connect with it a lot more and just made me appreciate it so much more. It's one that sort of also has a very careful and great balance of hope and solemnness, which I think they've been doing really well in most of their songs, to be honest, but this one specifically. I also really like how there's this kind of use of the bridge being this transitional period in the song where suddenly it's fast, all the rest of the band kicks in and everything dials up to 11, and I just love how and admire the way Mayday plays around and experiments with their song structure using this as their bridge. Bad at Love was the second single to produce for the album, and it's probably one of the more sort of different songs in their discography in the sense that it was probably the first time we sort of really got to hear them showcase Derek sing in this kind of way, in a sort of, you know, this higher sort of pitch packaged, softer style, as well as sort of the overall arrangement of the song. I also like how towards the end the lines start to overlap, and the use of echo and reverb making it sound much more atmospheric and cinematic. I also really like the line "pull me down from this cloud," not only because of just the imagery of making your mindset sort of more grounded, but also the way it reminds me of the cover of "Come Down" by Bush. Notice it's a song that starts off in a way that almost sort of tricks you into thinking it's going to be this kind of chilled out mellow acoustic track, when suddenly the entire band kicks in with all the recognisable Mayday Parade classic sort of pop punk emo sensibilities that they are known for. It makes really good use of the soaring vocals, and also in the bridge where it sort of gets drowned out and then becomes clearer, and as it ascends it energetically enters into the final chorus, giving me a lot of A Less Than Romantic vibes. Heaven is probably one of the most surprising songs on this album, in the way it starts off with this really dreamy intro, which then transitions into a series of rather straightforward set of lines like "Oh, it feels like heaven, the way you put through hell," and then suddenly transitioning into a sound we've never heard Mayday Parade entertain before, in this kind of almost electro, kind of indie synth pop kind of flavour to it, almost to the likes of the 1975, which I think is a really brave thing to do, and I think it'd be interesting to hear more of that actually. Angels Die Too is a song I rate very highly on this album. It's very solemn, and I'm gonna say it, it's hauntingly beautiful, and it probably has the most catchiest, prettiest, sad melodies Derek has ever sung. It does really well as a piano song, adding to their discography. It makes a reference to Sunnyland, and also the outro, the way the lyrics are written are so beautiful, and the way Derek sings the last part of the song is so heartbreaking. I don't know how to describe this album. It resonates with me so well. I literally get chills listening to it, and I don't know, it's one of my favourites of this record. The 11th track, You Not Me, is one that directs us into what's quite an easygoing song at the beginning, with more sort of lyrics referencing the winter and Sunday like they did early on in the album, and then suddenly throwing us into this really lively chorus, lots of pop punk sort of sensibilities that are very recognisable from the mid or late 2000 breakup songs. The album closes with a song called I Can't Do This Anymore, which starts off really mellow with just Derek singing and some electric guitars in the background, whilst he tells quite a vulnerable and honest account of really struggling and feeling like being the only one. This one is definitely a song that sort of grew on me after a few listens, and overall is a really satisfying way to end the album. Overall, a great addition to Mayday Parade's discography, being an album that definitely carries on the sensibilities and elements that were established in Sunnyland, and taking it further into a new series of songs and I suppose stories that they wanted to tell. And in this one there's definitely more ballads as well, just like in Sunnyland, and in a way a good mix, because there's a few songs where, let's say, there's quite a mellow first half and the second half's really energetic, which I really appreciated. And also noticed that Derek sings a lot more in this kind of like higher pitched style throughout quite a few of these songs, which maybe he's done before, but much more prominently in this one. I think this is a good touch because it kind of makes it stand out from the previous releases, where there are a lot more, you know, clearly a lot more harsher, aggressive tracks and vocals on, let's say, Black Lines and a few of them on Sunnyland, which I suppose in a way I do miss, but then again, different type of stories, different songs they want to sort of write, and different sort of themes they want to convey in this record. I suppose my main criticism would just be simply because they released too many singles, and that's only just me, because I feel like, let's say, I would have really appreciated if they saved things like Golden Days and One for the Rocks as part of the actual album release day. That would have been a really nice surprise. But then again, they didn't give away things like, you know, Angels Die Too and Heaven, both of which I think are great songs. One being an incredibly phenomenal like piano song, and the other one being a really surprising track, which I personally don't mind and actually quite like to hear maybe a little bit more of that. Maybe not too much, but like maybe even just an EP where it's just kind of experimenting with different type of styles of music, and I think that's something that Mayday shouldn't be afraid to do, and I feel like people should support them in doing. But in general, I really enjoy this record. And that does it for my review of Mayday Parade's 7th album, What It Means to Fall Apart. If you found this video helpful and enjoyed in some way, please feel free to show support by liking, commenting, subscribing to my channel, and following me on socials as usual. And until then, I'll see you next time.